Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Advance, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment. And we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see it. So let's get straight into it. So, as you guys know, yesterday we did a show where we were reacting to the story that Bronny James is going to be getting some significant minutes, getting some minutes in the playoffs, right? I even saw a video where Lebron was reacting to the story, and he said, playing with Bronny has been the #1 accomplishment in his entire NBA career. And I can understand that. And as a father myself, I can understand the excitement and the joy that LeBron must be feeling, right? It must be a beautiful, beautiful thing. But given the fact that LeBron is a very polarizing person, and a lot of people love him and a lot of people hate him, but just by simple proxy, Bronny James was going to experience both edges of the sword, right? He was going to experience both polarizing effects. And you have a lot of people that are fans of Bronny that are wishing for him to do well. And then you have people that crack jokes at Bronny and all of this. Now, look, Bronny's in the NBA, so he's fair game, right? You're an NBA player. You have a lot of clout because of who your father is. And ultimately, you're going to get a lot of praise. But when you do bad and you screw up, people are going to make fun of you. That's just the nature of it all. And I'm sure, I would like to at least assume that LeBron took that into account, right? But as you guys know, many people first question how Bronny even got to the NBA, right? And all of the kind of shenanigans that were going on in the background, where Rich Paul had revealed the conversation with him and Bronny, where Bronny said he just wanted to have his name called upon. But then we heard into draft night, or we heard, I think, some news leading up to draft night that Bronny was only going to work out with 2 teams, and then Rich Paul was telling teams if you draft Bronny, he's going to go play, I think, in overseas. Just all kind of crazy stuff. We only heard he worked out for 2 teams, which was the Suns and the Lakers. So it was pretty much a done deal that Bronny was going to be a Laker, and you could see all of the engineering that was taking place behind the scenes. But then the Lakers try to act like, oh, you earned it here. But most people thought that wasn't the case. And one of those people that felt that way was Skip Bayless, apparently. And Skip recently did an interview on Vlad TV, and as you know, Vlad, he releases his clips in portions, in bits and pieces, where essentially Vlad asked Skip Bayless flat out, do you think Bronny James would have been in the NBA had it not been for his father? And Skip Bayless, in typical Skip Bayless fashion, he didn't hold back, and he said no. Bronny would not be an NBA player had it not been for the intervention and the status of who his father was, LeBron James. Before we even get into Skip's comments, today's video is brought to you by our sponsor, PrizePicks. All right, guys, the playoff push is heating up. Tournament hoops are here. The Masters is underway, and the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. There's no better way to cash in if you're right on all of this action than PrizePicks, America's #1 sports pick app. So I jumped into their team picks feature, and honestly, I had no idea why I waited this long. First time I tried it, I was picking game winners on some of these games. Came out right on my first one, and watching the game just hit completely different after that. And here's what I love. On top of the players' picks you already know, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals. You can even call who wins the championship or takes home the MVP. Mix and match across basketball, baseball, hockey, golf, all in the same app. And if your picks get off to a hot start, you can cash out early before the game even ends. Now download the PrizePicks app today, pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. That's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. All right, great. So what we want to do is I want to play what Skip Bayless had to say in response to Vlad's question, and then we're going to come back and continue on with the show. Take a listen to that there.
What do you think about the whole concept of don't talk about my son, but your son is a Laker at this point? We're not talking about just your child that's playing high school basketball. He's officially a Laker, so why can you not talk about him?
I don't know. Good question.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Stephen A. has every right to talk about whether Bronny can play professional basketball or not.
What is your take on Bronny's basketball skills? Do you think that if his dad wasn't LeBron James, that he'd be playing in the NBA?
I don't. Even though he's had some explosions that surprised me pleasantly in G League games, I still haven't seen enough from him on the pro level. And I was one who thought, I'm a big fan of Bronny as a human because you want to talk about pressure. You're named LeBron James Jr., and you have to grow up with that. And he seems like completely level-headed, even-keeled, doesn't take himself maybe even seriously enough. And he didn't get his father's height. I don't know, what do they list him at? 6'2", he might be 6'3"-ish, 6'2.5". And
Yeah, 6'2".
6'2".
Yeah,
He might
my
be
height.
6'2".
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not playing.
Exactly. And I was hoping in his rookie year that he could find, I don't know, 10, 12 minutes a game opposite his father, because he seemed perfect in the fit of 3 and D for his father, where he could just play defense and shoot threes. And yet in his early stints in the G League and in pro basketball, and certainly in that first summer league, the one thing he couldn't do was shoot threes. He was a horrible three-point shooter. Now he started to make them more and more, and he made one the other night in the game, an assist from LeBron, which is beautiful to watch. But he's been timid in games, and I guess that's where you're LeBron James Jr., but too many times he's just, like his father's doing now, just runs to the corner and stands in the corner. And I wanted him to be dynamic and take over games and assert himself, because he's talented. And yet, defensively, I don't see a demon. I don't see somebody who locks you up and locks you down. I haven't seen that yet. So I've been mildly disappointed in him after I thought he was actually going to be a rotation player for the Lakers, where he would get, I'm talking about 10, 12, maybe on a good night, 15 minutes. It's a lot. And be like Jake LaRavia is for the Lakers now. Be that kind. But Jake LaRavia is like 6'7", And so he's a little smallish, and he hasn't played with the aggression that I thought he was worthy of playing with so far. So I had no problem with what Stephen A. said about him.
So you heard what Skip said. What are my thoughts about this? I don't think this is a controversial take. I don't think this is a hating take. I think even honest LeBron fans would admit as much. Bronny didn't make it to the NBA on his own steam, right? If your father's LeBron James, chances are people are going to give you a second look just because of who your father's name is. Even in Formula One, Michael Schumacher's son, Mick Schumacher, at one point was a driver, I believe, for Mercedes at one point, right? He's not a driver anymore. I think he's a backup driver now. But given the fact that you're the son of a 7-time champion, Michael Schumacher, people are going to give you a second look that they wouldn't give other people. That's just the reality of it. Now, Mick wasn't good enough to be a Formula One driver on a consistent basis, but he got a shot at being in Formula One. He received a Formula One salary just because he was the son of Michael Schumacher. Now, he may have been good enough to at least be there, but to stay there, that was a different thing. But no one is disputing the fact that his father being Michael Schumacher played a huge role, right? And this is a true thing. In the case of Bronny, and I think the reason Skip is saying that is, number one, because of the reasons I just gave you. The kind of the shenanigans that were going on in the background with the leading up into draft night. And then given the fact that Bronny wasn't really any good the first year, he was getting preferential treatment. For example, he was part of the G League, but he wouldn't travel with the G League team. He would play at home with the G League team, and he would travel with the Lakers themselves when they go on the road. And I would assume that his father wanted to experience traveling and being on the road with his son. And look, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. As a parent, it must be extremely cool to take your kids to work every day. Essentially, that's what LeBron, he has 2 years to take his son to work. It must be an amazing feeling. I'm sure it is, right? And kudos to him for making that happen for himself. Kudos to him, right? But at the same time, it doesn't take away the fact that people feel like the only reason that he's there is because of his dad. Those two things can be true at the same time. And that's what Skip's saying. That's what Skip is saying.